Iko Nini. So since the Gen Z protests the last year, kuna vile the Kenya Kwanza government imekuwa ikishindwa wanafaa kufanya nini juu ya watu, because this is the first time that the youth have decided to take a very different path from the parents, where the youth look like they are 100% independent. So hata kulikuwa na hii game ya rugby ilikuwa ina happen, and out of nowhere unacheki wasa wakaanza kuchant Ruto must go. And kitu interesting ni unacheki hii event iko sponsored na KCB, kuna Tusker. Like back in the days, if such a thing happened, ungecheki akina Tusker washatokea, akina KCB washatokea ako like, we can never be involved in any event that has any politics, blah blah blah. But this time nika kila mtu ana understand that this wave is there to stay. So wacha tucheki kile kile happen kwa hii game ya Rouge. So vile nasikia jo, Ruto must go, mwizi, Ruto must go, mwizi. Na the more story kama hii ina happen, if there is one person who's getting a headache kabisa, ni mse anaitwa Murkomen. And Murkomen aliamua kudo the one thing that Kenyan politicians know how to do, and that is to shift blame. Najua, like it's never their responsibility. They are never at any point going to admit that they've gotten some things wrong. It's always going to be the other people's fault. Najua, the people who are complaining, they are the ones who don't understand. So Murkomen alienda pa akisema kitu fulani ile mimi sijaifikiria jo. Sijaifikiria ama government critics kumbe ni watu wako na shida mingi sana, na si zile shida tunafikiria. Si shida kama joblessness, shida kama nini, shida za kuteta juu ya bad governance, shida za kuchoka na corruption. Yani wasa wanatumia vitu mbalimbali. Wacha tusikie Murkomen.
Most of the young people who are writing hateful messages kwa social media, most of them are struggling with mental health, which has been caused by abuse of drugs and abuse of alcohol. Sometimes we mtu mkubwa mzima unang'ang'ana, unatafuta hiyo mtu kwa social media, unasema amenitusi only to go and find this is a extremely destroyed young person. Hata atoki nyumba.
Wachiketa ipati ya so umesikia vile amesema that tu wale wanadu hivyo ni watu wana struggle na mental health, and this mental health is courtesy of alcohol and drug abuse. And this is something that's very insensitive, because when we went to those streets and we saw those people, because those are the same people who are tweeting, those are the same people who are posting on Facebook, posting on TikTok. I don't remember even seeing a single person who was drunk. Of course watu drunk walikuwa hapo, but that's not the main sort of people who are there. Alafu when Murkomen goes ahead to say that some of these people don't even leave the house, and he associates that with alcohol, inakuonyesha how disconnected these people are. Most of these people, ama the few of them who don't leave the house, they don't leave the house because they do not have employment opportunities. They do not have jobs. So they're in the house because wame give up na life in their own way. But they also know something that our parents didn't know, that it's the politicians' fault. It's up to politicians to create jobs. Hizo jobs zile Ruto na kina Alfred Mutua na tufukuza tuende tuziduko majuu. Hizo jobs zimekuwa created na the politicians from those countries. So that's what people are demanding from the politicians of this country. But of course hawezi admit. So wacha tuendelee kusikia vile kuna dismiss the protesters.
Ako tu nyumba na simu yake, akitusi leo nani, akiona nani ana trend, akiona nini. We are struggling with mental health, which is occasioned by drugs and alcohol. Umejiwachilia kusema Gen Z tu wanataka kuongea, waje Gen Z waseme vile wanataka, waje wafanye vile wanataka. Hakuna kitu dunia hii. Freedom without control is dangerous for our society and for our children. Let us go back to our homes and talk to our children.
Alafu unajuaga what I normally say about that statement. Ukisikia mtu amekuita mtoto na wewe ni adult, jua huu ni mtu wako na anything good for you. Because basically kila anafanya ni kukuambia you are the leader of tomorrow. Like usirash, you're still a child. Wewe ni mtoto, wewe ni mtoto wa mamako. still a child. Najua wewe ni mtoto wa mama, na kuna saa zingine unasikiaga unahisi ni kama hauna bahati, na wewe ni mtoto wa mama, lakini usijali, wewe ni mtoto. So unaenda up as an adult thinking like a child. Nacheki, unaenda up ukiwa pale uko like tomorrow yako itafika, alafu tomorrow never comes, alafu you find yourself in this situation. So the number one thing is never allow them to call you child. Najua usiwahi kubali kuitwa mtoto. Ukiitwa mtoto unatritiwa kama mtoto, and that's the reason why unaenda up ukiwa lectured hivi na kublame everything on drug abuse, alcohol. No, a lot of people are sober. Najua a lot of people are sober and they have to go through these things. Some of these youth are so broke that they can't even afford that alcohol. Na since hataki kuwa alcoholics na kukunywa kitu yoyote nini, they stay sober and they stay sharp and they stay telling the government that you are the problem. But people like akina Murkomen keep dismissing them.
Let us go. Kama wewe umekuja kanisa hapa, hakuna maana ya Ukristo yako ya Jumapili kama wewe hauna Bible study na watoto yako kwa nyumba yako, na muombi kwa nyumba na uongeleshe watoto yako.
Umecheki. So mi of course hakuna kuomba yote, naombaga na mtoto wangu. Hiyo atajifanyia akitaka kufanya hivyo. But kitu funny ni I never thought that at any point I'd ever agree with Sakaja, but I feel like Sakaja at least hapa, cause he's a young person, hapa ni kama aliamua kubonga, ni kama mse anaelewa like what's happening, cause he's a young person. Of course he takes advantage of nyinyi kuwaita the youth na kutry kuwakumbusha vile you are young, but ye mwenyewe za chikini kama ameanza kuunderstand, ama he understands what the problem is, and most probably after he said this he regretted, because niko sure aliamboje buda tulia juu jifanyishe shida ni yao, shida sisi.
Our young people and what is happening, what you see as bitterness, what you see as anger is a cry. The problem is not our young people. The problem is us, the political class. We are the problem. And we need, when you hear a cry from your child, what do? You go down to their level, you listen. We need to listen. We need to humble ourselves. We need to take it seriously. Because our young people are not crazy. We as parents, let us not respond to our children with arrogance. Na tusiwapuuzilie, na tusiwatishe, hawatishiki. In fact, the more you do that, the more you rile them up. The more you...
Acheki. Hapo aliambia vizuri kabisa. Kwa hata hii kitu ina happen na Murkomen ya kubonga juu ya freedom. Hii ni kutishia ase. No kitishia ase, it makes it worse. And this is the reason why mushindaga nikisema like this government needs better advisors. Wacheki. Kuna kwa na time wasoko like ni watu umelipwa. Mimi nataka kulipwa juu ka advisor. Nitoke hapo ka government advisor. Maybe the first solution to a problem is accepting that the solution that the problem exists. Being there claiming that everyone else who's complaining that Kenya is not doing well is crazy is just going to rile people up, and this is what's going to make people more angry, and the more that you make people more angry, the more they end up hating you. And this is what's happening na hizi speech zote from akina Kahariri to speech ya kina Nurdin Haji. Hizi speech za vitisho, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, if you do this you're going to do that, if you do this you're going to do that. No, Kenya is a very simple country. On Monday ni public holiday, si ndio? On Tuesday wasataamka na waende job, na hasa wameamka wakaenda job, ndio weekendi wakipata opportunity ya kusema Ruto must go, watasema Ruto must go. Hata hiyo during the weekday wakipata that opportunity. But Kenya is not at war. Kenya is just Kenya. This is not going to take Kenya into any sort of war, because unajua Kenyan war would mostly, like if we are ever going to go to war, itakuwa tribal driven, and the fact that this whole movement has no tribe means that this whole movement is very measured. Unajua iko very measured. There are few extremists, and those extremists, most of them just type and they talk shit and they never do anything, and that's good. The rest of the people are very angry, and they are so angry that they've already dusted their voters cards, and they are ready for 2027. Yes, they know it's far. They know the next 2.5 years are going to be super painful, but they are ready for that time. Alafu kita kujua vile people are angry. Of course, watu wako so angry that when Elachi lost her son, people ended up making jokes about that. And it was sad to see, but still understandable from the level of people feel like, you know what, the political class imetulenga, the political class does not care about our losses. So when the political class gets a loss, then we end up najua laughing and we end up celebrating, and this is what happened. And nilikuwa nasikiza madha anaitwa Milio Vyambo, and ni kama yeye bado, of course hakuthreaten design ya Murkomen, but ni kama yeye bado pia anajifanyisha hajui pale shida iko, so anatry to blame humanity. And I think one of the things that the politicians in Kenya have perfected really well is making people not believe that corruption is a crime against humanity, that corruption is inhumane, and corruption dehumanizes Kenyans, and corruption is the reason why some Kenyans don't have food, some Kenyans are homeless, najua some Kenyans are illiterate. All this is courtesy of corruption. So corruption is inhumane, and I think hata ule msee kabla ajoin ODM anaitwa nani, umse kabla join ODM Kasmal akasema corruption is genocide. Unajua, that's how dangerous corruption is. So to claim that the civilians have lost their utu is to be dishonest.
We have very angry youth. I don't know what's going on in this country, but we need serious soul searching. When we have lost utu, when we don't feel when somebody has lost a loved one, it doesn't matter what the reason or the justification. And perhaps it is time, I don't know in what format, but we need to talk to each other and stop talking at one another and stop pointing fingers. And we need a moment to heal the nation. Because if we don't heal the nation, we'll be tearing this country. And this is a country for all generations. Whether you are my generation, I don't know what I'm called, whether I am boomers or sijui what they are called, or whether you are Gen X or whether you are Gen Z, we all need each other.
So nacheki hapo, and even to go as far as kusema I don't know what my generation is called is to indirectly dismiss the Gen Z movement and dismiss what they are complaining about. And Kenyan politicians have to realize that kuna wase wengi sana, I remember during the protest last year, walikuwa nasema that the reason why this Gen Z generation is this angry is because they are the ones, they were the first people to enjoy free education and Kibaki. So ni wase wanaelewa. These are people who understand that it's politicians who are there to create jobs. It's politicians who are there to create such a conducive business environment that businesses thrive. And in the process kuna manufacturing. Apart from manufacturing kuna imports and exports and innovation and what. It's politicians who are supposed to create that environment. And these people have come to realize that the politicians are not there for them. The politicians are there for themselves. So they see all these bad deals. And what happens? They end up being angry. Alafu since wako angry, wanaweza communicate in ways that people could not communicate back in the days. Mimi nakumbuka nikiwa mtoi, ilikuwa siku za Baba Moi, sasa yuko mlangoni. And I remember those days, radio ilikuwa inafungwa. Unajua, ilikuwa sasa ni saa 6 usiku, tuonane kesho. Then then afika time alafu radio station inafungwa. Then kesho I think ilikuwa inafunguliwa like around 5 am. Radio station inaanza tena. Ilikuwa AM before FM. Then FM ikakuja. Kukakuwa na I think first ilikuwa Metro 24-hour radio station. Then after Metro Capital FM 24-hour radio station. And of course kuna time ya TV. TV pia KTN ikakuja 24-hour. Otherwise TV ilikuwa ina close down. All this time, there used to be very strict ways of communicating. So whatever was said on radio was the truth. Whatever was said on TV was the truth. But right now, there's the internet. And through the internet, people have more knowledge. And through more knowledge, people can complain. And people can... And that's why these same people, as you provoke them, you have like different ways of provoking them. And the bad thing about Kenyan politicians is they've come to believe that like... and we're so desensitized that sometimes they say things and you're there wondering like, why are you saying this? Do you know that when you say this, what you end up doing is just pissing people off? And that's the reason why this whole Ruto must go thing, it's going to be a lot. Mi nakumbuka nikitoka, ilikuwa on Sunday night, nilikuwa natoka wapi? Nilikuwa natoka Masai za Ruaka kuna boy fulani alinipatia opportunity ya kwenda kwake na spend some time with this OLED TV just to watch it and review it for my Luthuli channel. So make sure you check out that. And in a process tukirudi game ya Gor Mahia versus AFC ilikuwa imeisha. And there were a lot of people there chanting Ruto must go. Na siwezi kudanganya, I could have recorded, but pale pia kulikuwa kuna hooligan. Najua hooligan, stop that war. Yeah, so ilikuwa zile za pia singetoa simu hapo. Najua mi sikuwagi stupid, man. I keep my phone safe too. Hiyo ni my source of income. So I keep it safe. So I had to just watch. And as these people, this crowd of Gor Mahia and AFC fans was moving, there were still chants up. Was like, Ruto must go. Ruto must go. And you wonder, like, why are people this angry? And as people are this angry, what happens? The same politicians are there being arrogant and reminding us that there is no way to get rid of Ruto. Like, tunaweza sema tu hizi Ruto must go, but the best that we are doing is we are exercising our freedom of expression. But the guy who won with 200,000 votes and has already lost a big chunk of the people who voted for him will be here for forever. Forever, ever.
Mimi nasema kama Musalia. Mimi nimekuwa kwa siasa kwa muda mrefu. Na nimechunguza. Na mimi nataka niwaambie itakuwa vigumu sana kumshinda Mheshimiwa William Ruto 2027. Haya maneno yote yakiwa pale ni haki ya watu kuzungumza, lakini nataka niwaambie itakuwa vigumu sana. Wameshikana kwa serikali ya broad based. Ati sasa utaenda huko
I think all this is pegged on broad based kukaa pamoja, and the broad based pia iko pegged on people believing that the government is working for them. And as I've just said, nilicheki watu wakitoka kwa game ya Gor. Unajua raya za Gor serikali, kulikuwa na hizo raya zimepigilia mpaka nini inaitwa ile hizo mahelmet za serikali na zilikuwa Ruto must go. So for people to believe that the politics of yesteryears are still 100% the politics of today is to be very dishonest. Things might change, najua. And every time that people like akina Mudavadi wanatuambia how hard it is to defeat Ruto, and they don't say it in the way that mseka mi naisema, because mi naisema gana ile design kwambia it's through hook and crook. Like this guy is going to try to steal, and that's the reason why nilikuwa nasema huu mse ataiba even before Sudi aseme ataiba. But unachiki mseka Msalia yaseme ataiba, watashinda tu clean. Because why? This is a master politician. This is a blah, blah, blah. And you're there wondering, if you have the people and you have the numbers, why does a slogan hurt you so much that the minister, former the cabinet secretary for interior, has to keep reminding us? Yes? Why does this phrase hurt you so much? Ruto must go. Iko Nini.